Hey, Foreclosure Fix family, and welcome to another episode of the Foreclosure Fix Podcast, where our goal is to help 1 million homeowners successfully navigate foreclosure. If this mission resonates with you, please do us a favor, like, subscribe, and share the information with someone who you think can benefit. I'm your host, DJ Olojo, and on today's episode, I have my good friend, Bill McCafferty. Bill, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, brother?
What's up, DJ? How you doing, brother? I'm doing well, man. All is good over here. Looking forward to spending some time with you and talking shop here, brother.
Oh, man, I can feel the energy in your voice already. For those of you who don't know, which probably many of you don't know, Bill has been a friend and a mentor of mine. He has helped me tremendously in my real estate career, and I am so grateful for him and happy to have him on the podcast today. He is an asset manager with People's Mortgage Relief too. He has managed over 1,000 different mortgage assets in his career, but more importantly than that, he is an awesome dad to 2 kids and has a wonderful wife. And so he is really proud of his family. His son plays football and his daughter plays lacrosse, and his wife is pretty awesome. So he's super proud of that more than probably anything else. And so I know that that's the highlight of his career and his day.
Absolutely right, brother. We always, we got to have a why. And, that's my why. And I think most of us, that is our why. And how do we get up every day and stay motivated? You need something in the background that keeps you moving along every day, right? Because it's not easy. There's the days that you get up and you don't want to do anything, but you look in the mirror and you realize what you got to do and you just get it done.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I would love for you to kind of share your experience on with having dealt with so many different homeowners who are in this tough spot of foreclosure is how do you utilize that why, right, to get over the other side of foreclosure? How do you help push past the inertia of not making a decision and just being head down in the sand to getting past that and moving forward?
I learned long ago, just like you, from many different mentors early on when I was learning this business. Let me just state one thing for the audience. One thing I think that is different, like DJ said, I'm an asset manager. So I handle, I become the bank. I work and purchase institutional loans from the banks. So I'm coming in more of the perspective of owning the loan and being the bank than an actual investor helping a homeowner out with foreclosure, helping them save their house. My concept and my business plan and model is the same, but I'm absolutely coming in from a different angle. So with that said, I learned long ago from the right people, do what's right, take the emotions out of it, control the deal, treat people on the other side like a regular person. They got a heartbeat, they got a lot of things going on in their world. You need to figure out what the problem is, what their issue is, and you just need to help them solve it. Early on when I was managing this business, it was in an upside down market. You have no equity in the properties, purchasing assets at a lower cost. But I learned this business with no equity. And what I mean by that is, as an investor, when you are helping a homeowner, you want to kind of benefit also. It's got to work out for you to help a homeowner. Now, sometimes it doesn't, but at the end of the day, that equity is kind of what's going to get you paid. Now, as an investor, owning the loan, becoming the bank, controlling the institutional debt, it's a different approach. But I learned long ago from my mentors, ignore the equity, treat every deal the same. And that's what really got me good at this business. Because then when I started managing loans for different investors with equity, it just became easy. They were looking at the equity more than getting a fair deal done, where I always it's about a fair deal.
So if I understand what you're saying correctly, Bill, when you approach every loan in the same manner, you're not looking at the numbers only. You're looking at, hey, the person on the other side of this transaction is a human and there's some problem, some issue that got in the way of them being able to make their mortgage payments. And the way we can solve this is by helping them get past that issue.
100%. You know, the process, at least from my side, when I say the process, you know, we're the ones that actually are starting the foreclosure process. You know, as much as I'm managing the asset, it's my legal team, it's me, it's my client. We're the ones that are actually taking the homeowner through the foreclosure process. Whereas an investor trying to help a homeowner save the property, they're dealing with a bank on the other side. So the one thing that I come in as is I can bring in both perspectives because I work with investors. I also work with homeowners that are being foreclosed on by a bank when I'm not the actual bank. So at the end of the day, it's all the same. There's a heartbeat on the other side. They just want to know what their options are. And I think that's where most people struggle. If it's me working with them or even a homeowner, I'm helping out a friend of mine right now who's in foreclosure with a big bank. And so from my side, I kind of made some phone calls and got in contact with somebody that I know that kind of is the opposite of me. I'm the bank. Their motto is spank the bank. So what that means is, you know, they're the ones that are actually dealing with the bank, going through the loan modification, going through the loss mid process, and really letting the homeowner know what their options are. And that's what I got good at. Even though we're moving down the path of foreclosure as the bank, a homeowner just wants to be able to talk to somebody on the other side. They want somebody to talk to. They want somebody to listen to them. And they just want options. They don't want to be put through a circus. They don't want to be run around. They don't want to be told something and then lied to. You know, the one thing that really has allowed me to stick in this business is my word is my word. I don't like to backpedal on that. I take it very personal when I promise a homeowner something and I got to go back and tell them that that's not true. That is not a good thing. I get very upset. And, you know, my clients that deal with me, they know when I get upset because I don't like to backtrack. You know, when we present these homeowners options, they're the options. We're not doing anything differently. So that's the deal, man. You know I can get rumbling a little bit here.
Absolutely, man.
Unlike you, I love this business, man.
And no, man, hey, and we're just warming up, right? So, you know, we started a little bit. I had to get you talking, had to get you comfortable, right? And so that way, when I start asking the hard questions, you're already ready to go. And so with that, you said that what homeowners want is someone on the other end to listen to them, to let them know what their options are, and to help move them along the process without jerking them around or going back on their word, right? And so how do you do that? What is the best way to get a homeowner to be able to respond to you as an asset manager?
At least from my end, I let the process kind of bring them out. And what I mean by the process, as the bank, you know, phone calls and letters, I think that intimidates the homeowner more than letting the actual process bring them out. And what I mean by that, as we go down the foreclosure process, there are certain steps and certain phases of the foreclosure that will bring a homeowner out. Each state is different, but there's two types of foreclosure, a judicial foreclosure and a non-judicial foreclosure. A non-judicial foreclosure is handled by a trustee. It doesn't go through the courts. It's faster and cheaper. And those steps are a little quicker. What I want to kind of talk about is judicial, which most of the states that we deal with are judicial states. It's a longer process. It goes through the courts. There's some different mediation processes, but it's pretty simple. There's a demand letter that goes out to the homeowner that lets them know they're behind on their loan. They owe some money. They need to reach out to their lender or the lender is going to start foreclosure. Some reach out then, some kind of, it's not that they ignore the letter, but that's the realization. And they're maybe reaching out to people within their circle saying, hey, I got this letter. What should I do? And then after that, you have a complaint stage, a judgment stage, and then a sale stage. A lot of them will come out between the complaint and the judgment stage, and there's a whole boatload of them that will come out after the judgment stage.
So if I hear you,
go ahead.
If I hear you correctly, Bill, what you're saying is that as an asset manager, you are not proactively reaching out to the borrower saying, hey, let's get a resolution, let's work out. You're saying that once the attorney starts the foreclosure process, you allow that foreclosure process to bring the borrower to you.
Absolutely. And like what I was saying earlier about not taking it personal, I've gotten way over the hump of realizing, okay, I own the loan now, but at the end of the day, they need to address their debt some way or another. And I just help speed that process up, and I help them get to me. At the end of the day, there's really 3 exits. We're going to go through a loan modification where they come up with a new payment plan to address the debt. They're going to file bankruptcy, or we're going to go to distance and maybe go through a foreclosure and liquidate the house. There's plenty of times where I've went through a foreclosure sale and we've resolved it on the other side. We can talk about that a little later. But it's the legal process, and I've always said that legal is the number one tool for a note buyer. It's just going to get us to an exit, and it's going to allow us to address the debt. There's no deadline. I hate to use the word a game of chicken, but it just speeds up the process and it gets them out. Now, when I'm handling an attorney, I do want to handle the whole loss mitigation process. If that's me directly talking to the homeowner or me going through my attorney who's going through their attorney to get to them. It may be all of us on a call. It may be all of us interacting. The one thing I got very good at also, and it's a different climate with regulations and compliance, but I love talking one-on-one with an opposing attorney that's working for the homeowner. Because my goal is to get a deal done, and that's what they want at the end of the day. I say, at least in the second business, it seems like at least 1 out of 3 homeowners will get an attorney. And that attorney may be pushing back. But at the end of the day, they want to get something done for their client. And the quicker people can get on the phone or at least get on the same page, my goal is to just get them to pick one of the exits. And once they pick an exit, I'll handle the exit.
No, absolutely. So when you are considering asset management, you view asset management as the process of speeding up a borrower dealing with whatever debts they owe. So you actually view it as doing a service for the borrower and helping them come to terms with their current situation.
100%. I think that's one of the main reasons that guys like me and guys like you are able to get access to these loans is, as much as the regular person would think, why aren't the banks doing this? Banks aren't in the business to chase homeowners. They just want to get payments. And when things happen like this, it's happening more on a big scale than in, a one-on-one loan basis. So that's how we get our hands on them. But a lot of the 9-to-5 workers on the other side are just following the process for the bank or the institute that they work with. We can get really creative because we own the loan. And it's a one-on-one. If I'm working for a client, I can go right to my client and we can get decisions done that day where, a bank may have to go through a big process. And it's kind of spinning in the works of the bank and nobody's really making a decision. Whereas we can just cut right to the chase and make a decision. And it's always got to be in the favor of the homeowner.
So you are saying that the size of the investor is very critical to how quickly decisions can be made. Big banks move significantly slower, whereas smaller banks or individual investors are able to make decisions as quick as, light speed, if that makes sense. And so that difference is one of the key things that's been of value to you in your ability to help homeowners in your career.
Absolutely. And I know we've had this conversation recently. I mean, working loans for so many different investors at every different level, you own the loan, you could control it. Like we make this thing complicated. We want to do forbearances. We want to do interest only. We want to do balloons. Like it doesn't matter what you do. You own the loan. If a homeowner hiccups or can't afford it and you put them in a payment plan, you still got to figure it out along the way. Maybe the homeowner needs to realize, hey, I maybe need to sell the house and take my profit and move on. I'm here to help any way I can. If a homeowner needs to liquidate the house, maybe we can help them buy a new house. Whatever they need from me, I'm going to stay there with them the length. I mean, I'm not here to kick people out of their houses, take their house, play games with them. But at the end of the day, they got to be able to handle the debt. I mean, if they're in $1 million house and they can't afford it, maybe it's time to liquidate and take your profit. And even if it's not a lot, maybe you need to rent. But at the end of the day, I don't think we do homeowners any good by, putting them in something they can't afford, which we call a forbearance agreement. And then 6 or 12 months later, we realistically think that they're going to be able to pay a higher payment. And that's what I've always loved about this business, especially in my own portfolio. I own the loan. I mean, it's me and my borrower. If they can't afford it, let's just lay out the finances. Let's go through the bank statements. Let's see what's going on. I'm not here to tell you how to live. I just want to see the realistic, can you afford a $500 payment compared to a $900 payment or a $200 payment? It's got to be fair, but it's got to also pay down the debt.
Absolutely. So in a previous episode, we talked about a loss mitigation package and how to fill that out. And so you can definitely check out that previous episode if you want some details on what to do when filling out a loss mitigation package. As you think about the borrower, you mentioned that you go through the information provided in the loss mitigation package. Not that you're trying to tell them how to live, but your goal is to identify if they can afford the house. And if the borrower can't afford the house, Bill, what are their options?
We got bankruptcy, or we're going to liquidate the property and sell a property. That's really the only options. At the end of the day, they're, like I said, they got to either address the debt. And the reason I like the financials, like you're saying it, it's not really about like laying it out and me going through their statement and being like, well, you don't need to go out to dinner or you don't need to do this or that. I just want to see that you're real. You got a job, pay stubs, you're living life. You're not trying to tell me that, you make 50 grand, but you're making 300 grand. And even a lot of these loss mit, especially in California, these homeowners rent out rooms to people. So on the surface, it might appear that a homeowner doesn't have the financials to support the payment. But when you dig a little deeper, you realize they're renting out 2 bedrooms at like $800 a piece, which is an extra $1,600 a month, which could be a second mortgage.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper into your background about modifications and workouts you've done. When people hear the term workout is a broad term that could mean anything around how to get a homeowner repaying. So the loan is worked out by doing a modification or doing a forbearance or you reinstating. So that term workout is like a broad term. But when you think about some of your most interesting workouts, help our listeners understand some of the creative things that you've done with homeowners in the past so they can get a flavor of what they can expect and what they can potentially do to get out of their foreclosure situation.
No, absolutely. I can't express enough about, they just need to know their options. The one thing early on that was difficult for a guy like myself and even other investors is to get the thing over the finish line. And as an investor, we don't like to talk about numbers. We like to negotiate. But I got to the point where, they owe what they owe. What are we negotiating? Why don't we just put some, what I call options on a piece of paper, lay it out to them, really explain things. Here's what your original loan is. Here's who owns it. Here's the loan servicer. Kind of tie it all together. Even if you have an attorney, you could put the attorney's information. Because some of these homeowners don't realize, okay, they're getting letters from servicers. They're getting a letter from an attorney. And here I come in. They may not even know that all 3 of us are together. And I like to tie it all together for them. Even some of the, I talk about not really sending letters out and all that stuff. But even early on, I send out a package where I kind of try to tie it all together. My information, the services' information, give them the accounting, give them their options, supply like an 8-9 page HUD document in there that different services that they can reach out to. But at the end of the day, it's just laying it out. If they lay out their bank statements, you can kind of see the money that they have. I mean, if a homeowner owes $40,000 in a reinstatement, and they lay out their financials and they only have $5,000 or $6,000 that they can actually reinstate the loan or put down, I'm not in business to squeeze them or try to get more out of them. There's a lot of investors that do that. It's a whole different business model. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. So I like to maybe just put some options together for them. And maybe, the options I put together, maybe one or two of the options might be a little above what they can actually come to the table with. But at the same time, maybe they have some friends or family members that will lend them some money to allow them to get into a better deal, a better payment plan.
Our listeners are varied in background and financial status and big servicer versus small servicer. A lot of what you're talking about today sounds very, very good, but that has not been the experience for a lot of borrowers who are dealing with these big, massive, behemoth banks. And so what advice do you have for them? Because they won't get the same level of one-on-one attention that you're able to give people who you deal with.
I think your best bet is to attack it early. You get a demand letter, don't ignore it. Even if you want to reach out to an attorney, reach out to friends, just attack it. The earlier you reach out, the better off you're going to be. I think the more you ignore it, the deeper you're going to get. You're going to put yourself in a situation where you may have to file bankruptcy. And hey, man, bankruptcy is an awesome tool. A lot of homeowners utilize it, and it's probably the best thing for them. I never recommend bankruptcy, but if I get on a call with a homeowner, I have no problem telling them what I would do if this was my situation. And whenever I talk to a homeowner, it's, definitely go confirm with an attorney, go confirm with anybody. I mean, even early on in this business, we're talking about this, majority of the loans that I work are second mortgages, second liens on properties. So a lot of these homeowners and even attorneys don't realize that a second mortgage can foreclose on a property, even if their homeowner is paying on the first mortgage. Very big misconception by a lot of attorneys and homeowners that a second couldn't do that. So I think the better off they are at going in all directions, but attack the issue. Don't ignore it because it's not going to go away.
You're right. You hit on some great points, and that's something that we always emphasize. When you get documents saying you owe money and you're not familiar with it, the first thing you want to do is verify. You want to talk to an attorney. You want to make sure it's legitimate debt, and you speak directly to that. As I think about your career and I think about some of the cool stuff you've done, what's one of the workouts that you've completed for a homeowner that you were just really, really proud of? Give us the context, the background, and just lay it out for our listeners so they can kind of hear that.
It's a tough one, brother. Like you said, I've worked about 1,100 loans. So like DJ said, when I say the word workout, like that I've worked out a little over 650 loans, it could be a loan modification. It could be a reinstatement. It could be putting a homeowner into bankruptcy and then being paid throughout the bankruptcy. Could be a short sale payoff. It could be a discounted payoff. So I think it's more about just giving them ideas. I think one of the cooler ones that I've done, and like I said, as I go through this business, it's just second nature now. But one of the coolest ones I think I've ever done is it was one here in my home state of Pennsylvania. Dealing with this homeowner, he wanted to pay off this debt. We call them discounted payoffs. So maybe the homeowner owed like $70,000. I told him I would take $45,000 to satisfy the loan, satisfy it in the county records. They'd be done with it. So we call it family and friends. Like, do you have any family members or friends that would lend you money? Maybe they want to become the bank and keep the loan lien on the property, or maybe they'll satisfy it, but you owe them the money off to the side. So this guy was an auto mechanic for 20 plus years, and he still worked at the same place. They said, talk to your boss. Like, you're friends with him. You work there. He knows you get paid every month. See if he'll lend you the money. Boom. Guy's boss lent him $45,000 to pay off the loan. I don't know how they addressed it off to the side, if he pulled it out of his paycheck, but it's just those ideas that a homeowner's not even thinking about. And I think that, ideas like that, the guy's worked at a place for 20 years. Like, the guy's boss knows he's legitimate. He's kind of friendly with him. And they're the situations where people don't want to go talk to people they know about, but once you accept it and you want to deal with it. So I like stuff like that. The family friends, I used to call it the family friend program. Like even on my option sheet, like I'll mention it, right? Like, talk to families, talk to friends. There's help groups out there. There's all kinds of agencies. I still can't believe I got a house right next to me that went through the foreclosure process. And the homeowners weren't the greatest people in the world, but we'll leave that for another day. But I was stunned to find out that the bank foreclosed on them. Somebody bought the house, an investor. The investor couldn't get them out of the property. The only way he was able to get them out of the property is he helped them get into touch with an agency, a HUD agency or some type of agency that actually gave them $17,000 to move out of that house. And it's like, a normal person is like, are you serious? And I'm like, if you attack it and you find the direction to go, the money is there.
Bill, this brings us to my favorite part of the podcast, which is our bow tie round. And in the bow tie round, our listeners get to tie one on with our guest, Bill McCafferty. The B in bow tie stands for your best advice for someone who is facing foreclosure. The O stands for one thing you are grateful for right now. And the W stands for your wildest or most interesting foreclosure-related story. So with that, Bill, what is your best advice for somebody facing foreclosure?
Like I said, it's to deal with it and find out what their options are. I know I mentioned it earlier. I'm going to give him a shout out. I have a friend, Matt Mirnoff. Matt is, he's a real estate investor, but he helps homeowners going through foreclosure with either the loss mitigation process, liquidating the house, selling the house, handling the short sale. But what Matt does is, and he costs money, is he just lets the homeowner know what their options are. And I think that's what anybody wants. Like, they just want to know what my options are, what can I do? And then from there, it really comes down to you got to address it. But I think ignoring it, listening to your friends that don't really know foreclosure and modifications, and, not a knock on attorneys, but even some attorneys don't really fully get it. Your best bet is to reach out and just slow it down and go through the process. If you're in communication with the other side, nobody's going to slide in and take your house from you. And if they do, they're total scum. But if you ignore the situation, the person on the other side doesn't really know what's going on.
No, absolutely, man. So the O stands for one thing you are grateful for right now.
Brother, as you know, I've been through a lot of stuff this year, man. So my health, just being back here on earth, living life on a healthy, good level. It's been a very rough year for me. Guys like you and good friends, just thankful for my family and friends, brother. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I've been from the bottom to the top, back down to the bottom to the top, and it's just appreciate and be humble and thankful for what you got, man.
No, man, the feeling is definitely mutual, and the peaks and the valleys are what makes life worth living. So you sometimes got to understand the bottom to know that when you're at the mountaintop to take it all in, right? And so I think you hit on that perfectly. Your wildest or most interesting foreclosure related story?
So here's this is a good one. So this wasn't even a foreclosure. I work for investors that do a lot of different things. Some of the investors just buy debt and sit on it. They don't press the homeowner. It's a lien on title. It's a lien on the house. So at some time, it needs to be addressed. So this was a house in Hawaii. So this was about 1.5 years ago. Homeowner did not pay on the first or the second for an 11-year period.
Wow.
So what happened over that 11-year period is it went from a no equity market to a full equity market. So particular client was owed $400,000 on a second. When you buy these things in big pools and they're really banged up, you get some good deals. So I'll leave the purchase price for an off the record conversation. But we got a call from some realtors working a deal. And even when the realtors call, I want to talk to the title company. I want everybody in the same email because it's where it's going to land. It's going to go to a title company. So the balance on the first mortgage loan balance was only like $600,000. They had this thing under contract to sell for $1.7 million. So from our perspective, it was like, we're going to get a full payoff here. But the reality is, when a first hasn't been paid on for 11 years, nobody in the house paid on the taxes or the insurance. So the first lender paid taxes, insurance over the 11-year period. So the payoff went from, a $600,000 loan to a $1.4 million payoff.
Wow.
So the realtors that were working the deal thought, it was just going to fall through. I'm like, this ain't falling through. So we ended up getting $140K payoff on the second, which was plentiful for my client and plentiful for everybody. But once again, we were owed $400. We weren't trying to be hogs. Homeowners wanted to exit this thing by selling it. There was a lot of people putting time and effort into it, as long as we got a fair deal done. And we got the deal done. It closed. Somebody bought a nice house in Hawaii. Homeowners walked away from a bunch of debt that was, against them. First got their full payoff. We got a nice payoff, and that's a pretty cool story.
No, man, that is a great ending. And it's crazy sometimes that people have not paid on their debt for over 11 years. I know we see it all the time in this business, but sometimes people always ask, how is it possible that somebody doesn't pay their loan for that long? And is it fair because the lender should have said something? And you get all those comments, but the question always goes back to what happened? What happened that somebody thought they couldn't pay or they shouldn't pay? And it's so many different things that happen with these notes and loans. And so that's why we're here at the Foreclosure Fix, to help bring education to those people who find themselves in a tough financial situation. Bill, we appreciate you being on the podcast today. Can you let our listeners know how to get in contact with you if they want to reach out to you or need your services in the future?
Absolutely. So Bill McCafferty, my email address is mortgagepayhelp@gmail.com. And I don't even have a problem giving out my cell. It's 484-356-4128. I don't answer my phone unless I recognize it. Just leave a message and I definitely will get back to you. Email's awesome. And I'm on social media platforms. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm a pretty easy face to find. I'm a real person. You can see I got a hat and a t-shirt on. Never as sharp as my man DJ, but I'm just a real person. I'm easy to find, and I do return calls and I do respond to people.
Yes, I can definitely say that he is a real person, an authentic person, and a great friend to have. Bill, I appreciate you for being on. The Foreclosure Fix family appreciates you. And for those who found value in this message today, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and share the podcast with someone who can benefit. Until next time, Foreclosure Fix family, my name's DJ Olojo. I love you and God bless you. See you next time. The views and opinions on this podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. If you have a specific legal question, we highly recommend you contact a qualified legal professional.